Hello, today we are interviewing Professor Michael Cardew-Hall from Australian National University. On the official website of your university, we find the following presentation. Australian National University is a research-intensive university of global standing, specializing in discovery and public policy. Research priorities of the university address the challenges facing Australia and the world. Which are these main challenges and priorities?
Well, they're very broad and deep in their nature. Australia is uniquely placed in the world in its position in the Asia-Pacific region. So one of the challenges that Australia has is how does it interact with the economy of the region and also with the cultures of that region. So one of the big research activities that we have is around understanding the economics and cultural aspects and language aspects of Asia-Pacific, particularly Southeast Asia and East Asia. And I think that's particularly important for Australia and part of its challenge. And then once you go past that, the challenges Australia faces, which the ANU actually does its fundamental research on, is no different to many other universities. Climate change, understanding climate change, understanding the impacts of climate change, and then understanding how we might mitigate some of those, so looking at alternative energy and renewable energy. So we have a lot of research activity in that space as well. And then there's other things around sustainability, particularly food and agricultural sustainability. We are very strong and have very strong research in plant sciences related into how we can get improved crops. And so that's another important aspect of anywhere in the world, to be honest. And Australia is more challenging than most because of our climate. We have very marginal agriculture in many parts of the country. And so we have to actually make things drought tolerant, for instance. So we have a big activity in that space. And then there's obviously defence, and for us that's growing increasingly into the cyber particular space. So how do we actually deal with cyber crime, cyber security? And for us it's then how do we translate that? How do we take those outputs from those fundamental research? And for us a lot of it's engaging with the innovation sector, companies and corporates, but also because the ANU is based in Canberra, which is the national capital, is how do we actually influence public policy? How do we influence the government to put in good policies that address some of these critical issues?
Thank you for your answer. We know that Australian National University strongly believes in innovation and entrepreneurship. As you know, École Polytechnique supports entrepreneurship as well. We actually have a center entirely dedicated to entrepreneurship called La Fibre Entrepreneur Drahi X Innovation Center that provides startups with a place, with a spot for experiments, for the dialogue with investors and for work. Could you please name some innovation and entrepreneurship projects that are actually conducted by your university?
Yes, I was very impressed when I had a look at the centre. So I very much believe in building ecosystems. And so we have a local ecosystem that sits within and around the university. And then I think we've got to increasingly engage more broadly with the global innovation ecosystem. And the local system, we have co-working spaces. We've set up a thing called Entry 29 co-working space, incubators. So you need to provide environments, and we provide a number of those environments for our students to interact in. Then we have it's about building the skill base and that our students and our staff need in order to build those new endeavours and those new companies. So we have business planning competitions where we put a sizable amount of cash prizes on the table for them to actually win from the business plan they create. We have various boot camps. We were fortunate to run the 24-hour program, which is run very successfully here by the CIFRA people in Australia a month ago, and that was another program that we run and we work collaboratively with. And I think then we actually need to start to provide new programs where we can actually get our staff and students to work more closely with organisations like the École Polytechnique to actually build out that entrepreneurial experience, but from an international perspective, which, given the distance from Australia, can be challenging for us.
And so about the international perspectives. As you know, at École Polytechnique, we support and we highly believe in internationalization in the times of globalization. So our numerous double degree programs give our students great mobility opportunities. Actually, 30% of our students are international, and they come from more than 60 countries in the world. What could you say about the international policy of Australia in terms of higher education, in Australia in general and in Australian National University in particular?
I think, as everywhere in the world, the aim is to try and give our own students much more of an international experience. That's always been done in a very ad hoc way prior to recently. But we are now trying to actually create internship programs and collaborative programs and summer scholarship programs where students can travel overseas. In particular, into the Asia-Pacific region for us. We have a number of programs where students have to spend some of their time in places like Thailand or Myanmar or other places where it's related to their studies. But increasingly, we're trying to provide opportunities for them to just study and do either semester-long programs in Asia, but also into the US and Europe, and that's one of our strategic intents. I think we need to work on it a bit more, but and the distance again becomes problematic in some respects. But I think students are becoming by themselves more international, and so as an institution, you've always got to actually facilitate what the students are actually doing by themselves. So we're increasingly doing that. We do get a high number of international students. They predominantly, within Australia generally, they predominantly come from the Asia region, mainly from China, Malaysia, Singapore and India. At the ANU we have a high number of Chinese students coming in, and that adds to the diversity and mix, and I think that certainly helps give our own domestic students a much more diverse understanding of those cultures where other students come from.
Of course, I think that we took the same direction.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming today, and thank you for your interview. Thank you.
No problem.